Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this regular meeting of the Lansing School District Board of Education. It is 6 o'clock. Will everyone please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you very much. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Dr. Body, Dr. Kavanaugh, Ms. Hodgen, Mrs. Lawrence,
Here.
Ms. Lilgy, Mr. Lopez, Mrs. Moore,
Present.
Dr. Rodriguez, Mrs. Willis,
Present.
quorum is present.
Thank you very much. Any additions to the agenda this evening?
Madam President.
Mrs. Willis?
Just a procedural correction. Before our old business discussion item number 1, that was a matter that was tabled, and so we need to have a motion to remove it from the table before we just talk about it. So if we could add a motion to remove the Sexton mascot discussion from the table. And so we would have to have a motion to move it off the table and then have a motion to have the discussion. Correct. Parliamentarian? Correct. And then I just want to note for our colleagues that the item on the table is to have a discussion around the Sexton mascot. If there needs to be a motion made to rename the mascot, it needs to be another motion. Just want to note that. Thank you.
Should we have the motion to remove it from the table now or at the time of the discussion?
At the time of the discussion.
Okay. Okay. Any other additions to the agenda? Okay.
I just want to make sure I got this right. So we want to make sure that we remove it from the discussion, and then we want to make a motion.
We want to remove it from the
The
table.
table.
From the
so we
table.
can have the discussion.
All righty, and then we can have the discussion, and then we can make a motion to, thank you very much.
We'll figure it out together. Okay, no further additions to the agenda. Before we get started on public comment this evening, I want to take a moment. After our meeting 2 weeks ago was the most contentious school board meeting I've ever been a part of. And this board has been through things that have been contentious and deserved public scrutiny and deserved public input. And I completely understand and appreciate that people are passionate about this topic because I am too. I know that when I left the meeting 2 weeks ago, I didn't feel good about it. And I don't think my colleagues did. And I don't think anybody who was here that night felt good. And my goal tonight is to have an open conversation with the board about the mascot and give everyone an opportunity to say whatever it is that they want to say. Give everyone an opportunity to register to make public comment. Just in case people aren't aware, you can register to make public comment throughout the entire meeting. So if you want to register to make public comment, there are blue cards in the back of the room. Please fill one out. And it's not my intention to prevent anyone from making public comment. So if you want to make public comment, please fill out your card and you can turn it in up here. My other goal tonight is to remain calm. And I ask that when people make public comment, please remember that the people sitting around this horseshoe are human beings and we are all members of the same community. Ultimately, we all want the same thing. We want a strong, successful Lansing School District. And we may have very different approaches to how we attain that goal. And that's okay. And that's part of the great thing about this country is that we can have different approaches and feel different things and have different opinions. And they're all valid. But I ask, please, when you make your public comment, please abide by the policies of the board. Please abide by time limits. Please refrain from name calling. It's not productive. Please refrain from name calling. I would like to go through public comment alphabetically this evening. Again, if you want to register, you can do it at any time. We have 2 public comment sessions. We have one at the beginning of the meeting on agenda items. I imagine that most of the public comment is going to be about one particular agenda item tonight. The public comment session at the end of the meeting is going to be on non-agenda items. I will be flexible with that. If anybody wants to hang around and make a comment about a non-agenda item and it actually was an agenda item, that's cool with me. With that said, we're going to start with Caitlin Cornell, and then I will go to Joy Gleason, to Erica Lynn, Mike Lynn, and Jody. You want to go at the end or no? Okay. Ms. Cornell, my friend, you have 3 minutes within which to make your public comment. Typically, the board does not respond to public comment. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
On the clock. Thank you. Good evening, Caitlin Cornell, Sexton High School class of 01, so you know which agenda item upon which I am here to speak. Now also a proud parent in the district as well. Much has been said about this in community conversations between November 17th and today. Of what's left to say, I'm not sure how much of it is best said by me, since folks much more involved than me from the beginning have made and continue to make excellent points in various venues beyond just this one. I do want to maybe caution the board not to assume that's what in front of you, and this is I think more than we had on November 17th, that I don't want you to think that this is just a vocal minority. There are many more people, and yes, including actual students, who can't make these meetings and are also feeling unheard. Okay, so it's really not just the people in this room. The mascot issue is multifaceted. One part of it that jumps out to me, what's your real issue with J-Dubs as a mascot option for the school? It seems to me that there are several arguments being used to mask maybe some bias underpinning the rejection of the majority vote. There were concerns on November 10th, for example, about what a J-Dub mascot might look like. But as Joy Gleason pointed out, I think on November 17th, Lansing's own big lug is a big purple dinosaur, right? And the White Sox is this nebulous green fluffy guy named Southpaw. I don't think that's maybe our real issue. Or this one, they'll always be J-Dubs. Sure we will. But as Farhan Sheikh Omar offered on the November 17th, like many names, this choice is a critical symbol of identity. Outsiders won't know what a J-Dub is. And I think that we're not addressing the real issue. What's your real issue with J-Dubs as a mascot option for the school? Is it really not the bias and maybe linguistic discrimination that so many of us think it might be? Here's another part of the issue. Giving the benefit of the doubt, the board seems certain of its own processes and its commitment to community input. But there's a difference between intent and impact. And the community is here telling you that they didn't feel heard. I commend the genuine reflections made by trustees, maybe treasurer is the appropriate term, Moore and Lilji on November 17th, after realizing that the board hadn't quite done right by the community on this issue. It's abundantly clear that not everyone is on the same page. I teach university students, when a student hasn't understood something from me, even if I think I did a good job, and even if 30 other students in the class understood it the way I intended it, one student is enough for me to go back and revisit my process. I feel that there's a serious gap in expectations that the board has some responsibility to address. When the community expressed its confusion, some of you doubled down, and I'm really having a hard time understanding why, when the community came to you asking to revisit the issue, some of you felt it so important not to cede space for that. I might have to save the rest of mine for comment at the end. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm coming again this evening to give support to the students, alumni, and J.W. Sexton family about wanting to be called by the name that they choose. However, in the time that has ensued since the last meeting, another issue has arisen. And in light of how important student success and performance is, it may seem like the naming of a mascot is something that's not important. But the real importance of what we're doing now and what made me come forward is that you undercut the confidence of the students when you make them feel not important, when you ask them for an opinion and then brush it aside and say, I'm more important than you. I know better than you. You don't know. And then they feel rejected and they feel lesser than. And going forth, they don't perform as well because they're not being as well supported by the adults in this situation. It may not seem like much. It may not seem as though the choice of what name to be called is important, but it's important to the students who are currently in JW Sexton. It's important to make them feel as though they're in a community that cares about them, that hears them, and supports them. I'm hoping that as we go forward today, and if it has to be finalized and voted for on some other day, that we choose what the students and the rest of the JW Sexton family is choosing so that we can let our students, our children know they are important. Their votes matter. They count in this society. And this little microcosm is the first place that they have a chance to see whether or not they count. And as adults, we ought to do the right thing by our children and show them that, yes, you matter. Your choice is valid. We can work with what you choose. It isn't incumbent upon them to be more vocal than they already have been. It's incumbent upon us to respond to our children with acceptance, caring, and concern. Thank you.
Hello, Erica Lynn. I am a proud Lansing School District graduate and mom to a Sexton graduate. I wanted to start off with a quote that I stumbled upon. I actually don't know the author, but it says that an environment that is not safe to disagree in is not an environment focused on growth. It is an environment focused on control. And I really sat with that for a while because I don't think that that is an environment that anyone in this room is trying to cultivate. But I do think that that was felt a lot at the last time that this conversation came up and was discussed. It did feel very oppressive. It felt like there was a lot of control being put back and forth. And I don't think that that's what any of us wanted. This isn't a tug of war. And I really wanted to uplift the fact that it is being revisited today. I thank you all for that because I think that that was the right thing to do. I think that we're dangerously coming to an age where everyone is expected to get everything right the first time and know everything, and that's just simply not possible. It is okay to get things wrong sometimes, and sometimes when you have more information, you revisit that. And a lot of what I was thinking about last time when I listened to the informational session, when it was presented, when the conversation came up and then the vote happened, and then I was unable to attend either of those in person, but I listened to both, and I was really disappointed because again, I'm really proud to be a part of the Lansing School District as a graduate, as a mom to a graduate. But the immense disappointment that I felt was because there was this process that was laid out and it was an opportunity for community engagement. It was an opportunity to build trust that I know has been broken for a long time. Through fault of who? It doesn't matter. It just matters that it's not there. And the conversation that was had was largely around personal opinions. It was around a lot of apprehension, personal experiences, personal biases, and it was really focused on outsiders that don't live in our community, people that may question certain things or not understand certain things. And to that, I say we shouldn't care about that. I think that the strength in this body, in this board, lies in your diversity and the diversity of our community. You have to challenge each other, and you have to challenge yourself and put yourself last. So those cringe moments or not understanding how people are going to view what a JW is, that's something that you have to push so far aside because you asked the community for their opinion. You asked the alumni, you asked the current students, and they were passionate. And so we put our trust in you by electing you. So in return, you have to trust us. You have to trust the alumni. You have to trust the students. And I don't think that there was a misunderstanding in the process. I understood it from the start. You all got the final approval. Your job was simple. Approve the the J-dubs that got the highest votes. So for that, I urge you to simply approve what was chosen. Thank you.
Mike, before you start, one more reminder to anybody who's joined us. If you would like to make public comment, there are blue cards in the back of the room. Please fill one out and hand it in at the front. If you see more people signing up, if you would like to make public comment, please go ahead. Thank you.
I'm going to do my public comment a little different because I know you are going to do the right thing today. So I don't have a question about that. So let's not talk so much on that. I'd like to talk about just the environment here in our city of Lansing. This isn't the only arena that I come and advocate in. I see a lot of the same behaviors across the board when it comes to elected officials and so on. And as I've thought about like what we got going on right now at Krieger Park, as far as our houselessness issue, we try to figure out how do people who are such good people, and like Gabe said, we're all just citizens of the same city, come up with such terrible resolve when we're talking about issues. And I think it goes back to the strategic plan, when the main thing and focused on the strategic plan was equity. And I can remember when our top guy, the CEO of the city, found out what equity actually meant. It was back in 2020 during a BLM call to action for racial equity. And he was asked what that word meant and didn't know the definition of it. So how could you be building decisions and platforms and how we're going to build this thing that we're trying to build off of if you don't know what equity is, if you don't even know what the word means? So I start thinking, like, how do we come up with these terrible decisions that end up being something that all the community has to come out here and get uproused about? And I think it's because we've lost the way of figuring that out. A lot of people get set in their own ways. Like, you know, I live in a nice place and I have a car and I have 2 vehicles and I have 2 buildings and I got a big janitor's roll of keys. And everybody's like, why you got all them keys? Because I got doors that I can open. But a lot of people in the world don't. So when I do this, I don't have to be here. I haven't seen a Monday night football game in 2 years because Mondays I'm at council or I'm at a people's council meeting, right? But I choose equity in every decision that I make. So if I have and others don't, then I put my resources, time, effort, voice towards the people who don't have those things. So if we build out our community based off of strictly equity being the number one thing, the number one brick that we build the rest of the building off of or the rest of the decisions off of, these decisions aren't hard. If we brought all the departments in the city together and asked who's got the biggest issue right now, and HRCS said we have the biggest issue of houselessness, then we don't spend money on fun. We don't spend money on roller skating. We don't spend money on celebrations. We put that money towards the people who need it. That's how equity works. If 5 of us have something and one of us needs more, then maybe I can give a little bit. And so I think that with this process moving forward, because you all are going to make the right decision today, I'm sure of that, let's figure that equity point out when we look at every aspect of what we do in the city completely, but also on this board. And I think if we figure a way to do that, then all tables will include all people. And I think that our voices will be much more valuable, being that we're the ones suffering from the decisions that are made. That's where equity lies. Who's going to suffer from this? Who's suffering now? If 8 of us are doing fine and 1 of us is doing terrible, I've got to focus that attention over there. This is why Black Lives Matter, because those are the ones that haven't been focused on in so long. So if we take that into everything we do going forward, this is going to be a good family event that we have here. It's going to be a good family environment. Thank you.
I'm going to go to Jody Washington and then Bruce Howard.
Thanks for being flexible, Gabe. I want to start with, I'm the one that I don't care what you call Sextons, whatever. But when you tell somebody they have a voice, don't silence the voice. That is what I care about. But having said that, what I really want to address is the recent news about our failing schools. And to me, that's an equity issue. The children in Okemos and East Lansing, they're preparing for the future. Our children are being left behind. So what I want to express to you is you all at this dais hold the absolute most important elected positions in the area. You not only hold our children in your hands, you hold the very future of our community in your hands. As goes the school district, goes our community. The lower our school district goes, the lower our city goes. Businesses and families look to the school district to determine whether or not they want to locate in our city. And more, they are choosing the outlying areas. Excuse me. We can't do that anymore. Dr. Bada, you at one time said, I remember, it's important to reach out to the parents. It's got to happen. Just because someone's annual income is low does not mean their IQ is low. Our children are no lesser intelligent than every child in the region, and stop treating them like they are. Stop treating them like they don't know how to behave. Many of us came from public housing. Many of us raised our children in public housing. It's not an excuse, but they have to know what the expectations are, and they have to have the tools to move forward. You want to know why there's hopelessness, higher crime, mediocrity? Because they're not feeling good about themselves. But if they could read and write and do math, excuse me, at the appropriate grade level, they would feel incredibly good about themselves. I am asking you all, please double down. Do it different. Quit putting lipstick on the pig. It's more than making the buildings pretty and the environment. We have to get back to education, period. Real basic education. And it's in your hands. And never forget, paid or not paid, you are sitting in the absolute most important positions in this area. And I thank you.
Mr. Howard?
Yeah, Bruce Howard, class of '72. My dad was in one of the very first class out of Sexton. He started at Lansing Central and was the first class out of Sexton. And my daughters graduated from Sexton. The term J-Dubs means something to me and most alumni, but I haven't been involved with any of the previous discussions. I didn't even think J-Dubs should be a consideration. So I'm agreeing with you guys. So you look at, dubs isn't even a word. You guys have probably discussed this. It sounds like the urban, when you bring up the urban, put dubs and the Urban Dictionary definition comes up, and it's not very flattering. So I assume that's been discussed. That is basically all I have. It's just, I think the outside world is just going to look at us and they're going to look it up in the dictionary and go, what is this? So that's all I have.
Ronnie Hodge. And again, for people who are just joining, if you would like to fill out a blue card in the back of the room and turn it at the front, you can make your public comment.
Hello. Ronnie Hodge, class of 76. I think there's a lot of things that's being overlooked. What Sexton means to the west side of the city. When I grew up right down the street from Sexton, on Friday nights, I was 6 years old when I started going to the Sexton Big Reds football games. And that block, I don't know about anybody else's block, but that block was completely empty that night because everybody was at the Sexton Big Red game. If you want to be a burglar, you could clean up on that street because nobody was home. We would sit at home. We would right by Logan Street then, and you could hear the Big Red Band start. And when that band started up, you knew, get your clothes on, get up there to the game. And everybody was there. Everybody was there. When they changed the boundaries and started busting kids out to Everett, there were so many disappointed people. They were very upset. It affected the neighborhood real bad. I mean, really bad. Magic Johnson didn't want to go to Everett. He wanted to go to Sexton. I talked to him about it. I played against him. My goal when I was in Pop Warner was I played football for Blackhawks, but my goal was to play for J.W. Sexton. I made a promise to myself. When I got in junior high school, they took us, the football players, over to Sexton and showed us the wall, Hall of Fame wall. And I said, I'm gonna get on that wall. I'm gonna bust my butt and get on that wall, and I did. When they took that wall down, my heart dropped. Sexton was so big on the west side of town, not just blacks, more than just blacks. It meant something to everybody. You can go anywhere, we could go anywhere in the state, and you say something about Sexton, and they knew about it. I was so hurt when I started coaching football, and I come over to Sexton for a game. My team was playing against Sexton, and I looked at my brother, and I said, look at this. And my brother says, you know what? I just counted the fans in the stands. There's 17 fans in the stands. There's no band here. We're losing something here. We're losing the west side of town. And we did lose it. We did lose it. The whole west side of town was just gone. There was nobody there to cheer on the Big Reds or anything. Sexton means something. J-Dubs means something to Sexton. If you get rid of Sexton's color, Sexton's name, Sexton, all this, you're going to lose a lot of people. We've lost a lot now. And if you get rid of the future, the past, you won't have the future.
Jarrell Nixon. And then that's all I have for this session of public comment. So if anybody else wants to make public comment, again, please register, fill out your blue card.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jarrell Nixon. I graduated from Sexton High School class of 2004. I'm sure that some people didn't. I'm sure with inner city schools, people don't expect us to make it out. But thankfully, I was part of the National Honor Society at Sexton. I graduated with a 3.62 from Sexton. I went and got my bachelor's degree from Michigan State University in 4 years flat. And then as of 6 months ago, I just earned my master's degree from Spring Arbor University, just graduating with a 3.92 GPA. So there is excellence in this community. There's excellence in Sexton. There's excellence on the West Side altogether. So I am a third generation graduate of Sexton. My grandmother graduated from Sexton back in 1962. My father in 1985. My uncle in 1993. I started the third generation starting in 2004. My baby sister just graduated in 2022, June 5th, to be exact. So I'm proud of the legacy that my family has built. And for the board to just disregard the democracy, that the word that the superintendent used 2 weeks ago, that's a slap in the face. So I know everybody has their own choice of a name for Sexton and whatnot, whether it was for Big Dogs or Cardinals, Knights, whatever it may be. But to me, I'm going to read this. A cardinal spiritual meaning is one of a fight against insecurities. It is a push by a loved one from beyond, so you keep striving towards self-empowerment in reaching your goals. Is that what we want for our students too, is to still reach their goals? Everybody wants that for their kids. Keep our legacy alive. You see I'm wearing the gear now. I'm currently the public address announcer for Sexton for football, basketball, and volleyball. So I am currently giving back. I've actually been doing that on and off for the last 20 years since my junior year at Sexton, being the public address announcer. And I also got National Honor Society credit for that as well. So I hope that you guys can do the right thing. I was graduated a Big Red. I will die as such. But do right for these kids, for our present kids and for our future, because currently we don't even have a mascot name. The girls' basketball game is tomorrow. I'm just calling them JW Sexton. There's nothing to follow that up with. Everyone else has a mascot. We have nothing. We're proud. Be proud with us. Respect us. See us. Understand us. Don't disrespect us. Don't walk all over us. because we will be back if it happens again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone. We're going to move on for now. We will be at the mascot discussion pretty quickly. So if you're going to stay, I promise I don't think this will take very long. We're going to move on to a report from our superintendent, Mr. Schuldener.
Good evening, everyone. It's really nice to see all of you. I appreciate that this might not be necessarily the topic that everybody wants to be focusing on, but I think, and I hope certainly the folks in the audience and the folks that have been listening to me speak for the last 16 months is that I just am really grateful that people care so deeply about this community. I used to sit on the New York City School Board, which you can imagine is a little different than this. I was at a meeting once that went till 3 a.m. They bust in thousands of people to just kind of yell and scream. There were banners everywhere. And, we got through it. We did our thing. But what I want to just thank everybody, the board and the audience and the community. I mean, what a great conversation. Like, this is just terrific. And I hope that once the mascot conversation goes, we see all of you the next time so we can talk about student achievement, and we could talk about community support, and we can talk about getting those football stands packed with winning teams so that everybody knows to come to. And of course, as a superintendent, I have to love all 3 schools. So be it Sexton or Everett or Eastern, I want to pack all of those the court, the field, and of course the auditorium, because art and music matter too. So I just want to thank everybody for that. Typically, I want to bring up Sue now, just so everybody knows. Once a month, we give a COVID update. We want to make sure that our community really knows how we're doing. I think, and I would defer to Dr. Boddy and Dr. Wheeler, that I can start to calling it an endemic rather than pandemic, but that we really want everybody to understand that we take safety and security and health very, very seriously. And before I turn it over to Sue, this will be the last time that Sue gives just a COVID report, because what we want to start doing now is to give a health report, which I think is a really powerful thing, where we're now thinking about how we're doing writ large for our students and our community with that. So I'm going to turn it over to Sue, and then I'll have my usual superintendent comments. So,
thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening. Yes, you can call it an endemic as long as people don't say that means the pandemic ended. Okay, we still appreciate all the mitigation that people are doing. So I'm here to give you the November report. And things were good in November, actually better than we expected them to be. We ended with 3 days of November, this went through Friday, with 56 student cases and 33 staff cases. This kind of showing you by week. The week of Thanksgiving, I would like to put a little asterisk by it, because as you know, the students were not in the building and staff were not in the building. And my suspicion would be people then also felt they didn't need to report the positive cases, because that was quite a little drop there. This is the distribution of the student positive cases. Once again, the larger schools, we saw higher numbers, but pretty much across the district, a few cases throughout each building. Staff cases, not unlike the student cases, spread throughout the district, with just 33 cases for staff in the month of November. I thought this might be of interest, where we started in September, our numbers came down in October, and then further in November. This has been a bit of a surprise that the numbers have decreased as they have, a lot of theories about why that could be, ranging from climate to people becoming more accustomed to mitigation, doing the things that we need them to do. We do anticipate as the weather changes, it's not that it's the weather, but it's what people do in the cold weather. They come indoors, shut the windows. We don't have that good airflow going on. But we'll see what December will bring. So what are our November highlights? COVID cases decreased. We had no sports or club-related outbreaks. COVID continued to come to school instead of from school. We did a Thanksgiving staff test distribution. So before the break, we distributed the take-home COVID tests and asked staff to do those before returning on Monday. We had only one report of a case during that Thanksgiving week, and unfortunately on Monday we came back with 11. So once the tests were put into use, we saw the cases then. And we maintain the mitigation strategies across the district. Students and staff have become quite adept at appropriate respiratory mitigation strategies. So how are we achieving our pandemic resilience? And maybe in the January report, we'll say, how are we achieving the endemic resilience? Well, we continue to focus on creating a community of caring. We are ensuring environmental resources as people recover from COVID, not just a physical recovery, of course, but the economic recovery, the emotional recovery. The COVID coordination team wrote and received a $10,000 grant from the Ingham County Health Equity Council, which we target to developing community resource materials and personal care items that we'll distribute to our BIPOC students. They are, the personal care items will be appropriate for our Black, Indigenous, and people of color. We will also participate in the COVID testing backpack program for the holiday break, where we'll distribute the take-home test to our students, those students, families, or staff who would like to take advantage of the take-home tests. So my message here stays the same. COVID-resistant holidays, it's about reduce your risks. Immunize, stay home if you're feeling unwell. The big three of mitigation, social distance, good air quality, and hand washing, and then mask as your situation indicates. And we hope we'll all find peace and joy this holiday season.
Thank you, Sue. I really appreciate that. Again, how can we expect children to learn or teachers to teach if they're not, healthy, safe, and feel like they are being taken care of? Defer to the president if there are questions.
Mrs. Willis?
Thank you. I just have a question. It's been a while since we've received this number. What's our percentage of vaccinated staff? And it can be next month's update is fine. I'm just curious. Unless you have it, did you have? Oh, okay, next month is fine. Thanks.
Dr. Rodriguez?
Thank you very, very much. Thank you. I am glad that you announced the health report are going to come from now on. I think the COVID is one of the illnesses that we are having. But there are many other illnesses in our kids, especially during this area, this time of the year. The second, I would like to also ask for emotional situation of our students, how we help them emotion and the emotion situation, depression, and other situations that our students are having today because the pandemic. They are also affecting their learning and affecting their lives. That I hope the health report is going to be comprehensive. It's not just about COVID, but more than COVID for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And again, I really appreciate what Dr. Rodriguez said. We understand how COVID, this pandemic, and just life in general greatly impacts just physical, emotional, everything. So what I will ask certainly of the board and of the community too, we're going to be building this health report kind of as we're flying it. So if there's things that we have in it that you like, great. And if there's ones that you want to add to it, please let us know. But we'll certainly take that into consideration. So my typical reports, again, trying to be a person of my word, I will read these until we solve this problem. We have distributed 3,101 gas cards with 22 people just signing up for them and on the wait list. We have 786 students with CATA, 2 students on the wait list that we will get to this week. And we have 3,229 students routed on the bus with a wait list of 102. Now, of course, that is a number way too high, but it is a number that is a lot lower than it used to be. You certainly have my word that we are continuously working on the transportation issue. If kids can't get to school, it's pretty hard to learn. And so we have been really focusing very hard on trying to fix this. And I will say, as a side note, the high school attendance rates have gone up from last year pretty significantly. So the move to CATA, we find to actually have been quite good because, as I think I said last time, if you miss the school bus, you're probably not coming to school for the day. But if you miss the CATA bus, there's always another one. Might not be exactly in 5 minutes, but we know that you have an ability to get to school. And one of the nice things, and I said this at the press conference, our attendance rates this year on average are now anywhere between 5 to 7 points higher per day, which might sound like a small number, but for attendance rates to be up that high, it's actually pretty significant. And I want to thank the families, the CATA, the teachers, the children, everybody who's really pitched in, and Dean too, because it's now a better system with less kids having to be on the bus. Attendance, as you all know, or I hope you know, the goal is to have 90% daily attendance by 2025. And again, attendance is one of the big 3. We have graduation rates as well going to 85% by 2025. A wonderful community member spoke about how the job of the board is one of the most important, if not the most important things for the community. I would like to believe that is true. Where goes the students goes a community. And, you know, for those of you that were not turning into my press conferences, because clearly what else could you possibly be doing? You know, we were very clear about the state report that came out that we know that things are not good, but you know, the truth is you knew those 2 things too. And there's no reason to hide or obfuscate or vamp or dance around it. We need to address it head on and take complete responsibility, which is we are in acknowledgement that the test scores and just things in general have not been good, but they haven't been good for a long time, right? There was I think I talked about this, there was a Stanford study that looked at 10 years of data from 2008 to 2018 that said that Lansing was not performing well. So the fact that last year's data, a year that was a test right after being remote, right after all the pandemic stuff, nobody should be shocked. But what we have to say is it's the truth. Not avoid it, not hide it, and say, what are we going to do things better? And what's been great is that already this year, we're starting to see some pretty significant changes. Everything from hiring teachers, because we know a teacher in a classroom, a good teacher in a classroom is the single most important thing for moving students towards success in the school. I appreciate parents are super important too, but I can't control that. But we can certainly talk about really great teachers. We've added an alternative education program, an entire school actually that's an alternative ed program. And why that's so powerful is that we have to also understand that not every kid is going to be successful in a typical traditional high school. That's just the deal, right? And so why should we try to force a round peg into a square hole? And so creating the Lansing Learning Hub is really quite powerful and wonderful. And we've just been doing a lot of things. So I like not to use words and be kind of, well, you know, I'm going to say all these nice and warm things. It's got to be outcomes. So I know all of you will hold me personally responsible, which you should, and you'll hold the board and the community and the executive team. But we're really making progress. But I have to say, one of the reasons why we're making progress is what you saw today in those comments. Everybody here wants what's great for Lansing. I know that. And maybe it's Sexton, maybe it's Everett, maybe it's Eastern, but maybe it's Grier Park or Kendon or wherever, right? And so I know when a community pulls together in the right direction with the right vision, with clarity of purpose, we're going to do great things. And so I look forward to next year around this time when I get to tell you how great we've done. But I also look forward to every week where we meet so that we can highlight some of the great work that we're doing. So, again, that's really all I have to report today. I think it's important for me to acknowledge the state report, as well as the acknowledgement that we made with the press. But again, about the wonderful things that we do and the celebration and understanding of our students, we have a Did You Know? And so I'll turn it over to our wonderful Director of Communications to play the video.
We come from a culture that we're relearning a lot of things because it was attempted to be taken from us through assimilation and genocide. So it just amazes me that we're still here and able to do this because we almost weren't. So that's what we mean when we say we're still here. Fry bread is one of the most popular foods amongst Native American people, and I didn't know that for a long time too. I thought, oh, fry bread, this is our food. But as I got older and started learning more, when we were put on these reservations and part of those treaties, oh, we'll feed you. The commodity foods that they gave us, did not do anything for our people. I mean, we were used to a strict diet of game, berries, fish, the local foods that were here, and that was taken from us. So when we were through on these reservations and through these rations of here's some flour, salt, eat, do whatever, however you get by, that's all. So for a lot of people, even though fry bread isn't a traditional food, it's become a traditional food in a sense because that's how we survived. We took those commodities that were supposed to nourish us, and we created something that, we're still eating it today. Here in the school district, what I wasn't expecting is with our language program, being that we have so many languages here in the school district, we have a lot of special language specialists. So they've come to me like, how can we help? And I have non-native people that are picking up on our language and they're willing to help. Like, how can we get this? We see what the dire situation is. How can we help? We have staff here that's learning our language. Like, that's so awesome to me.
Fry bread is food. Flour, salt, water, cornmeal, baking powder, perhaps milk, maybe sugar, portrait, or daily craft, shared from teacher to student, a cycle of heritage and fortune. Navajo, Nipmuc, Seminole, Shoshone, Sac, and Fox, hundreds and hundreds of tribes. Fry bread is time. On weekdays and holidays, supper, dinner, powwows, and festivals, moments together with family and friends. Fry bread is everything. Round, flat, large, small, north, south, east, west, brown, yellow, black, white, familiar and foreign, old and new, we come together. Rise to discover what brings us together.
Thank you, John. And I hope that what that video shows and represents is just how important, again, acknowledging people's backgrounds and where they're from. And, I think we as a society are only as strong as we represent everybody that we purport to be part of our community. And so I really thank you for doing that. I thank the Native American program that we have here, Ramona. We've really done a tremendous thing. And I think that this is emblematic of how we need to make sure that everybody is treated. And there are, I think, sadly, groups in our community that are not foisted upon kind of videos like this, folks that might think of themselves as others, that we need to make sure that we will represent and respect. And so I look forward to this community really embracing and thinking about all of the people. And so I thank John and his team and Ramona and her team for really bringing the Native American history and the Native American language to the fore. And we will see over the next couple of months more tributes and more support of our entire community. So with that, I think I'm done, and I will turn it back over to President Lawrence.
Thanks, Ben. We'll move on to routine matters and old business. We only have one. Yes, ma'am? Sure. Yeah.
So I can answer it not exactly, but each of the 103, it might be because they live in a certain community that doesn't have a route, or that there's not enough room on a specific bus. So it really is depending on who those 103 are. But I do want the community to know, and certainly the board to know, that those folks on the wait list are getting gas cards or they're getting CATA cards. So it's not that they don't have an option. We just want to make sure that everybody who wants a bus can get a bus. But those 103 right now are either living in places that there's just there isn't a bus route, or that we are trying to make more space. But it's a great question.
Alrighty, I have the floor. So excited. I love this report. For all of our community members that are here, I will be giving the report on our junior board. We have a junior board of education. So I report every month, and today I'm going to be reporting for November 2022. I like to start with good news, and I'm excited because our capital area K through 12 online school has joined the junior board. So they are representing, yes. So I want to start with their report. Each school will report on good news, areas of improvement, supports needed, and mental health Mondays. Our district has adopted mental health Mondays, and our students are leading this charge. So K through 12. Capital area held a successful fall festival for the students. And they also attended Camp Ebersol in November. In addition, this year, and I'm speaking what the students actually wrote, so bear with me. In addition, this year, they have small group meetings for extra math help. And that's the good news. Areas of improvement. According to their student survey, students would like more in-person events and tutoring opportunities at Pleasant View. They would also like to come up with the school colors and a mascot. Supports needed, guest speakers, career options, college information, SAT, ACT information, motivational speakers, mental health speakers, and test prep. That's the support that they need. Community involvement, possible sponsorships to support capital area field trips. Mental Health Monday. They're doing bi-weekly wellness checks. Every other week, students are required to complete a short survey on how they're feeling and if there's anything they would like support with. They also have mentors who meet with the students requesting mental health reports. So that's our capital area K through 12 online school. I'm going to move on to Sexton. Good news, logo change, hall sweep, schools have been cleaner lately. Areas to improve, bathrooms and overcrowding, supports needed. They need time to meet as a group outside of school. So it sounds like they need extracurricular activities. That's what it sounds like. And for their Mental Health Mondays, they're still working on it. For Wexford, things are good. They said things are good here. Project time, goal groups, communication between students, and restorative justices are going good. Areas to improve. We need more one-on-one work. This caught me off guard. Maybe make classrooms a little bit bigger. So I think they're lonely. I don't know, but they want their classrooms bigger. Support needed. They need, this is heavy. They need to know what's going on outside of school. If a child is sleeping every day in school, they said we need to know what's going on, that they are so tired, and if we need to help. Now, these are coming from our students. I love it. Mental Health Monday, everything's going well. Let's talk about Gardner. Gardner's good news. Students are studying with global goals and working on their country projects. Areas to improve: bathrooms dirty and out of order. Food in the cafeteria needs to be improved. Temperatures in the building inconsistent and not conducive to learning. Supports needed. Support for language learners and coats and boots. Mental Health Monday. Announcements to remind people to take care of themselves and to have fun. Let's talk about Post Oak. Good news. They had an anti-bully week. They wrote a pledge. They have new safety belts. Areas to improve. The MYP field trip. I'm not from, what's MYP? Pardon? Thank you. Thank you so much. All righty. Their field trip was postponed due to budget. Supports needed: better school food, more school funding for school activities. Mental Health Monday. So far, it's going pretty good. Let's talk about Everett. Everett hosted You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown play in November. Miss Truss, I hope I pronounced her name correctly, our 7th and 8th grade counselor, is an advisor for the NAACP Youth Council at Everett. Miss Lala and Miss Bell and the Latino Club hosted a Hispanic Heritage Month, and they honored yes, they did, our Dr. Rodriguez, and the girls basketball, wrestling, bowling, boys basketball, swimming, middle school, and everything else is happening now. Seniors had a visit from the college, or from Saginaw Valley College, to discuss admissions, and their band performed at Silver Bells. Areas to improve: students getting to class on time. Supports needed, they don't need any. Mental Health Monday, they didn't report. Last school is Eastern. Varsity Club, Asian Club hosted a co-ed volleyball tournament on Thursday. They registered teams only, and they only need to bring canned goods, which will be delivered to families for Thanksgiving. These are our students. Middle school and basketball, girls basketball is underway. They didn't report any areas of improvement, no supports needed, and mental health. So we're good. So, Madam President, that concludes my report for the junior board for November 2022.
I have one question for you. Are the junior board meetings virtual or in person?
They're virtual. Well, no, they're in person, but I attend virtual because, I'm at my job.
Do the Capital Area K-12 kids attend in person or virtually?
Actually, they had their advisor there, but they probably will attend virtual. But yeah, last month it was just myself and 2 advisors. But this was their first meeting, so I'm looking forward to seeing them in the space in December. Yeah. So
where do you meet?
When I say in the space, virtual and physical.
Okay, gotcha. Mrs. Willis?
Just one comment, 2 comments. One, Everett High School not only participated in the Silver Bells Parade, but they also won the Small Lighted Band Award, which comes with some money. And then 2, I just am excited to hear about that interest in the engagement in extracurriculars, because our strategic plan, which is before us to adopt, has as goal number 3, robust student programming and an increase in that extracurricular. And I'm really excited about some intentional investment and opportunities growing there. So I would maybe having junior board input in what those activities look like could be.
Of course. Of course.
Dr. Body?
Thank you, Robin. That was great. I was concerned to hear the bit about the school that needed more coats and winter clothing. And that was a question I asked a couple of weeks ago. And I think the district hopefully has some support they can provide. And I'd also be willing to contribute to that if needed. What school was that? Got it. Thanks.
I will know, I know specifically for Gardner, there's a local church that is doing what is called hugs. And it's not coats and boots, but it's hat, underwear, gloves, and socks for hugs. And so that's what they were sponsoring all the children at Gardner. They had the parents sign up at conferences. But I actually wrote that down too about a family is something we wanted to sponsor from the community as part of our holiday gathering.
And we've also been working with that principal and all the principals about helping support with coats, hats, you name it. The district really does have quite a robust support mechanism. And so it's great when the students say we need this, and then we're able to do it pretty quickly. But I really appreciate you bringing that up.
Since we have so many members of the public here with us this evening, I'll just point out that Old Newsboys is coming up. And if you see people on the corner selling the, what do they call it? The Lansing Spoof Journal, they use that money for just shoes or coats and shoes. I can't remember, for Lansing students. And also if anybody is entitled, feeling like you want to make a contribution while you're here this evening, I'm sure that any member of the executive team would be happy to accept any financial contributions that anyone would like to make for our students. Thank you, Mrs. Moore. Okay. You want to end the meeting now? Just kidding. Moving on to old business. What? Okay, so we need to.
Madam President, okay, you got it?
All right.
Okay.
All right. It's been moved to remove from the table the discussion regarding the Sexton mascot by Mrs. Moore. It's been supported by Dr. Body. Will all those in favor of the motion please signify by saying aye? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, why don't you go ahead and just make your motion because then, okay. Mrs. Moore.
Madam President, I move we adopt J-Dubs as the Sexton mascot.
It's been moved by Mrs. Moore, supported by Dr. Body. Let's have discussion. Mrs. Moore? Dr. Body?
Yeah, I'll go first. I'm more than happy and willing in my public and personal life to admit if I make a mistake. My vote that night was based on what amounted to a false perception of what the principal of Sexton High School said that night, which was that J-Dubs and Scorpions were basically two equally popular choices amongst the general public, and that the other two choices, Cardinals and whatever the fourth one was, were like a distant way down the pack. So when in my mind I was presented with the idea that J-Dubs and Scorpions are about equally popular, that our vote to select Scorpions would be met with cheer, I was like, sure, I'll vote for Scorpion. As it turns out, that wasn't a true premise, that J-Dubs was far more popular than Scorpions. And so I don't have any qualms about going with whatever the public wants. I don't need to be dug in on this. There's no room for that. So those are my thoughts.
Mrs. Willis?
That was what my comment was going to be related to, was that I don't know if the board members of the community have seen the results. And so it was 29.7% J-Dubs, 23.5% Scorpions. And then and those two were actually further apart than the next one. Cardinals was 18.9%. Big Dolls was 16.4%. And then there was Scarlet Knights, but we removed them from consideration because the Native American partners thought that was too akin to the issue of why we were removing big rides. So I don't want you to beat yourself up too much. I mean, they were 29%, 23%. So that is what the votes came down to from the students.
Dr. Rodriguez?
Thank you very much. I do appreciate what we did together in this process. That is exactly how democracy has to work. Working together, changing what we need to change, be opposed on one side and another, compromise, and come to a resolution together. Because at the end, the good of the students and the good of our community is when we work together and we decide together the best. Then congratulations to all of you, to all of us, because we give an example to many in many places in the nation and how we can work together and come to a solution. Thank you, Madam President.
Ms. Lilje?
Thank you. I'm just so grateful that we could do this. And as difficult as it was, I'm grateful for the 2 weeks that we were able to have between the last time we talked about this and this time. And this taught me a lot about the difference between opinion and will. And I think, you know, I made some big mistakes in the last couple of meetings, but that I think was the biggest one, is that I thought we were just talking about opinions. And J-Dubs is so much bigger now than I ever realized. And for a while I was like, well, it's bigger than a mascot. You know, we could do that and a mascot. But then I also got to thinking about the language that we used from the beginning. It was supposed to go to the board for final approval. We didn't say it was supposed to go to the board for discussion, debate, and final selection from the top 4 choices. And so that's something I'm sorry I didn't think about that, you know, to bring it up in the discussion earlier. So I'm just grateful to have the discussion, grateful to have the opportunity to acknowledge and apologize. And I'm also in all the conversations that I've had personally with many of you these last couple of weeks, it hit me what a grief it is to lose Big Reds, and how nobody is complaining about that. There's nobody like, we should keep Big Reds forever. I mean, there's some people that have said, wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have to go through that grief of losing it? But the graciousness that I've seen from everybody to be willing to go through the grief process of losing that has been really heartening and a beautiful thing to see. So just a lot of thank yous to everybody. And I'm grateful to be here. I'm proud to live in Lansing.
I really don't have anything to say. You know where I stand. So, I mean, it is what it is. I support the community. That's what I'm here for. I won't be able to always meet everybody's needs, but for this occasion, I know what I'm doing is right. The community, they voted me in. I work in higher ed. This is my thing. This is my passion. Students, numero uno. Giving the junior board report was my joy. But seriously, it's about the community. And really, we're in the weeds. I'm just going to say that too. I want to get out the weeds because I'm choking. That's it.
I think everybody in the world knows at this point that I graduated from Sexton in 2000. And ever since then, very frequently it's happened that I will tell someone what high school I graduated from, and they'll know my professional background, and they'll say, "You went to Sexton?" And it took a long time for me to realize how racist that was of people to say that to me. Because yes, I went to Sexton and I'm a lawyer. What's the problem? I've been on this board for 8 years. And when Shirley Rogers asked me why I wanted to be on the board, I told her that I had such an incredible experience at Sexton that if I could do anything to help another kid to have a similar experience, then it was incumbent upon me to do everything I could, because I want everybody to have that same experience that I had and to feel that sense of community that I felt. And I've taken my responsibility very seriously to leave this district in a better place when I leave the board in 2 weeks. And I'm going to be honest. And I feel like Erica Lynn has given me permission tonight to reconsider what I've done and how I feel. And I'm going to be honest. I don't know if this is the right thing. And I don't want to do the wrong thing, because I don't want generations of kids to have a mascot that further stigmatizes them, because they're going to get that enough. I know they're going to get that enough because I get that enough. So I don't know. And one of the reasons why this is such an emotional and such a difficult decision for me is that it's not only me, it's 10,000 kids, and it's my own kids too. So again, whatever happens tonight, I'm asking for everyone's grace and acceptance and forgiveness, but I want you to know how nice it is to look at these chairs tonight and see people sitting here, because we do this alone week after week after week, and it shouldn't be that way, and it doesn't have to be that way. Whatever happens tonight, please come back. Please don't let only the issue of a high school mascot be what drives you to a school board meeting, because we are going to sink or swim without you, and we need you to come to these meetings. Mrs. Willis.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Madam President. And I'll just come right out and say it. We haven't called the roll for the vote, but I'm in the same position that I was at the beginning of the month. And it is not from lack of respect or appreciation from the will and everybody from the community. And I appreciate having community input and I respect and appreciate the acceptance of differences and the respecting of that. I am going to be a no vote on this motion, and that's okay. The will of this board is what stands, and I support the action of the will of the board and my colleagues. J-Dubs is not my preferred choice, and we have an opportunity to express our vote. We're voting members, and we're a body, and what the body actually decides is what stands. And so I support my colleagues, still have a lot of support and respect for my colleagues. And I don't want this to be a controversial thing. For the love, please don't make the headline be what the vote is, what the vote count is. That's not what it's about. It's about the final action of what the board does. And that's what should stand. I don't want this to be the hill or what divides and I know we could just say, okay, let's just make it a not unanimous and then let's move on. And it's my vote. I'm one person, and that's where I am right now. I'm saying this right now. I'm not going to make any further comment about this. I'm not going to do any interviews about this. I'm not going to make any more statements about this. Our vote is our vote, what we do. Like Trustee Moore said, we are in the weeds. We are choking. I want us to dive deep into our strategic plan and what we have next to move on. And so that's just where I am.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Liljie,
Yes.
Dr. Body,
Yes.
Dr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Dr. Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Mrs. Willis, Mrs. Lawrence,
Yes.
motion passes.
All right.
Madam President,
Dr. Rodriguez?
I want to let the public know, and everybody that here are no losers or winners. All are winners. All we are winners. Let's go to have this. And this democratic process is what we had to show to our students, future leaders of our nation. Our nation cannot be what we dream to be if diversity don't work together.
That's right.
Then thanks to everybody. Respect from now on, and go Sexton.
Go Sexton.
Thank you.
Oh, you keep going.
We're gonna take just like 5 seconds and then we're gonna keep going.
Should we take a break?
Okay. We do not have that much more on the agenda, so every like 10 minutes maybe.
Yeah.
We're going to move on to our consent agenda for this evening. Thank you, everyone. We're going to move on to our consent agenda for this evening. The consent agenda only includes the corrected minutes from the November 3rd regular board meeting. May I have a motion?
Madam President,
Dr. Body?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
It's been moved by Dr. Body, supported by Ms. Liljie. Will all those in favor please signify by saying aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving on. Consent agenda is adopted. Moving on to our action items for this evening. Dr. Beverly did apologize that he's not with us this evening. He's had like 14 sick daughters just cycling through his house. It's been a horrible week for Dr. Beverly. So, Dr. B, it's fine. No problem. I'll text you later. May I have a motion? Mrs. Willis.
I move that the Board of Education approve the strategic plan as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Willis, supported by Dr. Rodriguez. Any discussion? Dr. Rodriguez?
Madam President, if I make comments that are not appropriate according with the rules, let me know and I can talk later. But what we are approving today is the strategic plan. We are not approving the action plan that is going with the strategic plan. We are approving the vision, the mission, the beliefs, and the goals and objectives. The last few days, we had some situations in the schools. We are learning a few more things. I like the administration that they need to add any more goals or any goal or any objective or inside of the action plan. You need to add something to move our district forward. We are approving what they are recommending to us. Now we are adding something that maybe the administration, they know what is going on, need to have to improve our district. They don't say, oh, we didn't do that or that. Second, there are many action verbs, no intransitive or transitive verb or passive voice. It's all action verbs with many, many days there too. But we are missing still who is going to be responsible, when they are going to do it, how much money you are going to need, an evaluation of the whole thing. That is something that before September 2023, we need the board to have a presentation of the whole comprehensive plan and the action plan for the next 5 years. Another one to do recommendation because you know how to read the district. Then what we are open here is to the board come back in the future with more a really comprehensive plan for the district for the next 5 years. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. I just want to point out for people who still have their presentation from last week, I did make some corrections. Thank you. On the list of names that was included in the plan, I noticed some typos, so I sent those to Dr. Beverly. If anyone else sees any typos, let me know or let him know. Further discussion? Will all those in favor of the approval of the strategic plan please signify by saying aye? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, great. Strategic plan is approved as presented. I do have 2 more people who have registered to make public comment. We've got Mike Lynn and Don Dean. Don Dean. Mr. Dean, I'll start with you. You can come on up to the podium. You have 3 minutes within which to make your public comment. The board typically does not respond to public comment. Go ahead whenever you're ready. Take your time.
So, well, considering you just said not responding, but I came bearing gifts because I was watching the meeting a couple weeks ago, and there was a comment about Robert's Rules of Orders. So I thought I would bring in you. May I approach? So there's 7 copies for y'all. So I just wanted to say that one thing that that did annoy me a little bit is that when I go to city council, they when the president of the board says so and so or so and so, they say council member Washington or council member Dunbar or whatever, and I noticed that you just use their honorific, okay, and so my suggestion is board member last name, board member whatever, board member last name. So that's really all I had to say about that. And then also as one thing I didn't hear anybody say is anything about alumni from Eastern. For most of the time that Eastern has existed, and all the time that it was at the corner of Pennsylvania and Jerome, where did the Eastern Quakers football play? At the Sexton Field. So all of the Eastern Quakers from 1928 when it opened up until 10 years ago, they are all alumni of that field. So I feel that J-Dubs is perfectly acceptable mascot. Yeah, is it difficult to brand? Yes. However, Scorpions they're problematic for me. Really, they're problematic because they are a poisonous creature and they don't exist in Michigan. How about ravens? Ravens, there's a lot of alliteration with Edgar Allan Poe. So I know it wasn't a choice, but just a thought.
Mike, come on up when you're ready.
Ooh, I just want to say I'm so proud of you all because this is like, and yeah, round of applause if we could. All of the years that I've been advocating for this community, this is the first time I've seen a response like this where we just really just settled in on it. And over the last 2 weeks, I've had multiple conversations with many board members where we had some deep conversation about where we want to see the city go to with our school district. I'm happy that this happened. And even if it had turned out terrible, I'm happy that it happened because I know most of you now in some way or another. And I had made a comment again on somebody's comment. I said, we're watching now, good luck. And I didn't necessarily mean that as a bad thing, but when we show up, people do show up. And I think that this is a testament to that. When this first happened 2 weeks ago, I was so irate that we just got to talking and got to buzzing, getting people buzzed up about it. And some people will be upset about that, like you're a rebel rouser, but this is what we need in the community. We need people to get revved up about things and want to pay attention to things. And although this mascot didn't seem like a whole lot, it's a bigger deal. Look at what happened. The community showed up here, they expressed their concerns, and you all budged. Not just budged, but went all the way. Like if you all know me, you know I've been in these dioceses and talking to people for so long about things that are way more important, that seem so polarized, and I've never seen a board just taken about face like that and rectify a situation. So congratulations on being awesome. I mean, that's a big deal. And it took a lot, I know. And I know that it took a lot to even be pictured as the people who made a mistake and come forward. That's a tough spot to be in. But this is where if we did this across the board in the city of Lansing, we are amazing people. Our city is amazing. And I always reference the meeting, that first conversation I had with Ben, and he talked about how amazing the city was. He hadn't been here a couple months. And just like the people here love and care about the city like I haven't seen anywhere else. Maybe we're not really all that sure about our identity. Maybe we don't know what we're worth. And maybe this is why we allow so many things to go on. But I think this day today at the school board of all places just showed us that that's possible. It's possible to make change. When this first happened, everybody's like, oh, it's just done. It's over with. And I had to have so many discussions with people that it's never just done. It's never just over with. Maybe they don't know enough. Maybe I need to get on the phone with them. Maybe a meeting is requested and we sit down and have a conversation and they can see this other side. So I commend you all so much. And I know it's just amazing. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, Mike. Joy Gleason and then Aaron Tucker.
echo what Mr. Lynn said in thanking you for your responsiveness to the people. But I also want to come up here and remind you, especially those of you who are going forth with the school board for the next few years, that even when you see no one here in this room, you are not alone. We are watching you. I had an occasion to speak to a former board member and kind of facetiously asked him, how come I didn't have to come down to the board meetings when you were on the board? And it's because when you seem to be doing okay and handling the business as needs to be, I'm good watching from afar, as are hundreds of people in Lansing. You may see an empty room. You should feel 200 or 300 eyes watching you when you're here and no one else is here. So it may feel like a grind to be in here when nobody else is in the room. It may feel mundane and it may seem very routine, but we have our eyes on you. And as has been noted, for things that it seems as though you might be missing a point or not getting a point, we will come out. We'll let you know. We'll make you feel our presence known. But I want to encourage you to continue to do the work, the grind, because it is important and we're watching.
Aaron Tucker from the neighborhood.
Good evening. I didn't plan on talking tonight. Just wanted to watch to see the process. I'm Aaron. I am a 05 Sexton graduate. I am a proud parent of the Lansing School District. I live on right by the airport. I have the means to take my children to DeWitt, Grand Ledge. I'm an educator at Michigan State. I share the same experience as President Lawrence. When people ask him, where did you go to school? I proudly say, Sexton. Oh, they're always taken aback. Did you see fights? Did you see knives? Right? And like this stuff doesn't happen in other schools. Being a parent at Sexton now, I am the president of the PTO, newly reestablished PTO. I got to tell you, some of the things I've seen and heard have been great. Others could be improved on. I want to give a special shout out to our security at Sexton. They're doing an awesome job. We didn't have Sodexo when I was a student, right? The custodial workers were like family to us. Uncle so-and-so or whatever, right? It's not the same anymore. But not to throw Sodexo under the bus, but I am. So the process to change a light bulb at Sexton, no, that shouldn't happen. My son and his teammates and every single one of those students that I coach need to have lights on and need to be in rooms that are comfortable to be in. I want to implore you to show up to some of these schools, not just at Sexton, right? I love Sexton. I'm not going to throw them under the bus, and I really won't this time, right? But go to some of these classrooms and see how cold they are, right? How can you learn as a 12-year-old or a 15-year-old when it's freezing? And I know we got the bond and we're doing good things, right? You got me up here now talking, so I just want to, we're not just talking about the mascot anymore, right? So does the board know how many times a bus is canceled after school and how parents have to find their children or to get them home? Or if the bus can't, a bus, not a cata, right? I want to, is there a report on those numbers that the board is aware of? And is the board aware of how many of those gas cards don't work effectively, that are not activated, but they've been giving to the students? Or what about the students who have gas cards because their parents want them, but they can't make it home after practice because they don't have a CATA card? And we have to give them tokens, which is awesome. We have those tokens available, right? Let's do better. I have no one show up to the parent-teacher organization meetings, probably similar to non-mascot nights. Parents, we need to do better as a whole. Come support.
Thank you, Aaron. I think I have one more. I think it's Farhan.
Good evening, Farhan Shikumar. I missed most of it, but from the sound of it, I think you guys did a great job tonight. They say it takes a village to raise a child. And I believe it takes a village to educate a child and children. And so to see the community come out tonight, to me, that is an incredible feeling. I was looking at your videos on YouTube, and it's like 20 views, 30 views. And then the mascot thing was like a couple hundred views. And so that speaks volume, not just because this mascot thing is important to the community, but you guys finally got the attention of the community, which is a great thing. Us having our eyes on you guys is not a threat. It's not a bad thing. It's just us willing to work with you guys. And that is a blessing to have a community come out and support you guys. You guys are all incredible people. None of you guys are getting paid to be here or the work that you guys do. And so for us to come out here and have your back and support you guys and share ideas, it's a good thing. Many of us are part of this community. Many of us are on the ground, boots on the ground, and we're doing the work. And so we're willing to work with you guys, share ideas. That is the best thing we can do, is come together and exchange our ideas and help move this school district in the right direction. I saw an article about how our school isn't doing so well. And as a product of the Lansing School District, I've witnessed many fancy PowerPoints. I've seen superintendents come and go, board members come and go, but our school district remained the same. And that's because the school board never worked with the community. So you guys have an opportunity to change that, to work with this community, to listen to the parents, to listen to the mentors, coaches, whoever you guys can have show up to this building or send you guys an email or have coffee meetings or whatever it is, whatever you can, make time for this community. This community loves the school district. We love our kids. I know you guys love them just as much as we do. So let us work together to move the school district forward. Thank you.
Whenever you're ready, Erica.
Hello, Erica Lynn again. First of all, I just wanted to thank everyone here tonight. We're talking about in terms of doing the right thing, the wrong thing. And I'm not sure that's exactly the way that, I would put it. I did want to acknowledge that there was a lot of conversation for, an individual that kind of knew that they weren't necessarily going to vote the same way as everyone else or had that feeling or weren't going to be in the majority. So I wanted to uplift something that I think we have to talk about in all arenas of government, elected officials, boards, committees. I think that we have long operated in a lot of silos, and it is, bodies are not intended to be an echo chamber. And I think that it is really disturbing to feel as if everyone should always be in agreements of everything. That's just simply not possible. And I don't think that anyone, whether they're in the majority or minority, or they feel like they're doing what's not popular, we shouldn't have to feel this pressure where if I'm the only no vote, or there's only 2 votes, or how many yes, everyone should be voting with the available information that they have and going with what they feel is going to be the most impactful in a positive way on our students in the Lansing School District. So my opinion, whether it matters or doesn't matter, I think you have to take your personal experiences and biases and thoughts and all of that out of that. But at the end of the day, if time after time after time after time, it is always yeses and always nos, an entire body, an entire board, I think that that is telling us that there is not enough contention on the board. There's not enough diversity on the board. There aren't enough questions being asked. So I think that that's something that this has kind of highlighted, is that it is okay if everyone doesn't agree with each other. I don't think I've ever been in a position in a room that we were having impact where we all agreed with each other. And if you are constantly, we should all pause and take a step back and say, are we having the intended result? Are we having the intended impact? So I thank you all for revisiting it, because again, I will uplift. It is okay to revisit things. I think that that is one of the most valuable tools that we have as people, especially people in leadership or people that are in positions of power, is to be able to revisit things when you have more information, or simply when somebody can come to you because you have been receptive to that they say something, do something, show you something to change your mind. It is okay for us to change our mind. I think that's really valuable. And I think it really opens the door to what the strategic plan is really about. I read that. It's amazing. I am a person that tries to show up in every space that I can. I served on the Equity Steering Committee for the Lansing School District. I'm trying my best to serve on the Community Subcommittee. I watch online even if I don't come here, but I want to acknowledge not everyone can do that. So one thing I will say, just really quick before my time is up, is I had a friend tell me about a question she was asked about a different situation. And the question was, do you want to be right, or do you want to be in relationship? And I feel like tonight you showed us that you want to be in relationship. So thank you for that.
Thank you, everybody. I just want to point out before we move on to our final announcements and adjournment, if you haven't seen what's recently been posted on the Sexton Facebook page, there's a group of students currently who are traveling to Dubai this week with Assistant Principal Jamie Brown, and that is with our best good friend, Dr. Eric Thomas. And they are also with my oldest friend in the world, CJ Quinney, who works with Eric Thomas. He's there with them. So I've been saving the photos and sending them to CJ's mom, who's in Atlanta watching his kids right now. So I'm super thrilled for those kids, because what an amazing opportunity for them to, I think I heard that most of the kids on the trip, if not all of the kids on the trip, have never been on a plane at all before. And to go to Dubai? Oof.
On somebody else.
Wow, you're right. Yeah. Like, oh, Mom, take me to Dubai for spring break. Not so fast. Anyway, check out those pictures, because it's an amazing thing that they're doing. Any other comments from board members before we go to report? Okay. Dr. Rodriguez?
Thank you, Madam President. On December 8th, next Thursday, won't be board meeting. Then I don't show up. Then Thursday, December 15th, regular board meeting at 6 o'clock. This board wants to wish everybody in the community happy holidays. And won't be a school, will be winter break, December 26th to January 6, 2023. Thank you, Madam President.
Dr. Body?
I want to make everybody aware, for those who don't know, that our City of Lansing, Metro Lansing community lost a giant in the last 24 hours. Bishop David Maxwell passed away. Bishop was very close to me. He was a big advocate of mine personally. He stood for so many things that are good about human beings, and we're going to miss him. So.
Thank you, Dr. Body. I was so eager to start this meeting tonight that I was remiss in not calling attention to that. And if everyone could join us.
Madam President, I will ask to the board and the people to have a moment of silence in his honor.
Thank you. Bishop will be very, very missed in our community. Other comments from board members? Did you have something?
Madam President, since we seem to want to be reminded about Robert's rules, I will remind the board that we're actually supposed to have a motion to adjourn. We don't. We just typically stand adjourned. So, Madam President, I'll move that we adjourn the meeting at 7:39 p.m.
Second.
Supported, moved by Mrs. Willis, supported by Dr. Rodriguez. All those in favor? At 7:39, we are adjourned.
I did not know that.